The shaila is, what happens if Moshiach comes in the middle of Sefira? It's a shaila that's discussed in Poskim. The Rebbe brings it in the Sikha as well. If when Moshiach comes, will we continue counting then Sefiras ha'omer minat Torah, and will we count then only, or will we count then only midrabanan? That's the shaila. So there's kind of a comments dadim to this shaila. First of all, the whole inyan of whether Sefiras ha'omer b'zman hazeh is midayraisa or midrabanan is a machlokes harishonim. Roiv Rishonim hold that Sefiras ha'omer b'zman hazeh is midrabanan. Taisvis Roiv Rishonim. The Rambam holds that Sefiras ha'omer b'zman hazeh is minat Torah. So obviously, according to the Rambam, Sefiras ha'omer is minat Torah. B'zman hazeh, Moshiach comes, so the shaila is not negeya. When Moshiach comes, it's going to be minat Torah just like it is now. But if today it's midrabanan, so if in the middle Moshiach comes, does it change? Could it become minat Torah? Does it become then a Sefira minat Torah? So the few things, what it's totally in is, number one, is every single day a mitzvah b'fnei atzma. If every day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma, so then just because yesterday was midrabanan, that doesn't change with the next day. Yesterday is midrabanan, but today is minat Torah. If it's one mitzvah, if it's a hemshech and it's one mitzvah, so then if the schalas ha-mitzvah was done when it was midrabanan, so then the hemshech ha-mitzvah, it's not shaykh to become minat Torah. You can't have one mitzvah where half of the mitzvah is midrabanan and half of the mitzvah is minat Torah. If the mitzvah is to count 49 days, so then the whole mitzvah is going to be midrabanan.
In the time of the mitzvah, the effect that they brought the korban, the oil in the beginning, the effect that they bring by Shavuos and korban, are they connected together?
We'll see. We're getting to that. Coming to that. First, this is the counting. Okay, so the Rebbe in the Sikha says that every single day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma. That's one of the famous chedushim that the Rebbe speaks about regarding Sefiras ha'omer, even though, by Pashtus, it looks like that this question, whether Sefiras ha'omer every day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma, or it's one big mitzvah, it looks like it's a machlokes rishonim. But the Rebbe says no. L'kula alma, it's one mitzvah. L'kula alma, it's every day a separate mitzvah. And the Rebbe brings a few rayas. The one obvious raya is from the fact that every day we make a separate bracha. How could you make a separate bracha every day? If today there's no mitzvah. B'fnei atzma. The mitzvah is when you complete the mitzvah, when you count the 49th day. Besides that, if you don't know if you're going to be mashlim the mitzvah, how could you make the bracha today? Just because you're counting today. The person is not sure that he's going to be mashlim the mitzvah b'chlal. So how could you make a bracha today? Kolpanim, the Rebbe says that Sefiras ha'omer every day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma. But, afal pikein, there's another issue here. The issue is the etzem counting itself. Before you get to the mitzvah shebedovar, the etzem counting itself. You cannot count. For example, you cannot count 22 if you don't count 21. There has to be a hemshech in the number. Without the hemshech in the number, there's no inyan of counting b'chlal. So even if every day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma, what happens if you miss a day? Could you continue counting the next day? So we count without a bracha. But there's a Rishonim that hold that if you miss a day, you can't continue counting weiter. Why not? If every day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma, why can't you continue counting? The answer is because if you didn't count one day, if you missed a day, so then the number doesn't stem. You can't count 22 if you didn't count 21. Right? So the shaila is, but bepoil, the mitzias is that it's the 22nd day. Whether you counted it or not, the mitzias is that it's the 22nd day. But no, that doesn't matter. It has to be the Sefiras ha'omer. One of the chidushim by Sefiras ha'omer is that it's an individual thing. Sfartam lechem sheyehei sefira l'chol echad ve'echad. Every individual counts for himself, and he has to count 21 and then 22. The fact that it's the 22nd day for the Omer for anybody else, that's not negated to the person himself. It's something which is every single individual has to count. That's the famous shit of the Rebbe when he gave to the Kavataric.
No, but if somebody forgets to count one day, he doesn't do Shavuos a day later.
True. That's for a different reason. The Rebbe explains that in the Sikh also.
But
when you get to the mitzvah Sefiras ha'omer, it doesn't matter. Okay, there's a hezbollah for that also. It's a good question. There has been for that. But when you get to the counting of Sefiras itself, when you get to when a person that passes the date line, he goes according to his own Sefira. Doesn't matter what the tzibur is counting, because the Sefira of every person is a personal, individual Sefira. There's no mitzias of Sefiras without the person himself counting. Okay, so now, if so, the shaila is when you get to if Moshiach comes in the middle of Sefiras Aymer. So you count Sefiras Aymer with the Rabbanon, and then you continue counting Sefiras Aymer later. So l'chayre, b'poil you counted. B'poil you counted. So before you counted with the Rabbanon. When Moshiach comes, you're going to count Menatayra, but you counted. Can't compare that to a person that skipped, that didn't count. If you didn't count, you can't come to 22 without 21. But if you counted, what's the difference if the chiyuv you had was to count it Menatayra, or the chiyuv you had was to count it with the Rabbanon? So when Moshiach comes, it could become a mitzvah Menatayra. So the Rebbe says, no, not so pashut b'chlal. Because what's machshiv, the number of the day, is the mitzvah itself. The mitzvah is machshiv, the number of the day. Which means, today was 22 days from the Aymer. At the same time, it was also, be'erech, let's say, 62 days of Purim. What establishes, what's kiveya, what's machshiv, what singles out today that we say that it's 22 days from the Aymer and not 62 days from Purim? And or any other number from any other beginning. The answer is because for this there's a mitzvah. The mitzvah is machshav this day, that this is the number of the day. Umemela, there's different levels of a mitzvah. There's the mitzvah midrabanon, and there's a mitzvah minatayra. The mitzvah midrabanon and a mitzvah minatayra are not the same kind of a mitzvah. The chshivas that there is in counting, when you're only counting of a chiyuv midrabanon, and when you count when there's a chiyuv minatayra, is not the same kind of chiyuv. The Rebbe brings here also the chshivas of the mitzvah, legabe the mitzvah minatayra, what you counted, which was only a chiyuv midrabanan, is as if you didn't count at all. That number doesn't have that chshivas, so you didn't establish it as the 21st day. Minatayra, what you counted, did not establish anything, because minatayra you had no chiyuv. So if you have no chiyuv, there's no significance to the fact that you come and say that today is the 21st day. If bizman hazeh, there is no chiyuv to count, so the fact that today is the 21st day has no significance. The fact that you say so, yes, minatayra has no significance. What's what? Say there. Okay, so there's a mitzvah midrabanan. A midrabanan doesn't have the same chshuvas as minatayra. Pashta, I mean, a few things. First of all, pashta raya, a person that's chayiv in a mitzvah only midrabanan can't be mitzi someone else in a mitzvah that he's chayiv minatayra. He's chayiv and he's chayiv. They're both chayiv in the same mitzvah. Ma'inaf kemin if it's minatayra midrabanan. Elamai. Someone that's only chayiv midrabanan minatayra, he has no shaykhs to this mitzvah. The halacha is you have to be a mechuyev bedavar to be mitzi someone else. If minatayra you're not mechuyev, you can't be mitzi someone else. Minatayra bizman hazeh, there's no chiyuv. If there's no chiyuv, then the number that you count is meaningless. Because when you say today is 22 days to the Aymer, just like it's 22 days of the Aymer, it's also 62 days of Purim. Has no significance. Has no shivas b'chlal.
So minatayra I can't count. So let me continue counting with the Rabbanon.
That's not the shaila though. The shaila is, yeah, for sure, you can continue. Mashiach comes, you can continue counting. No pravada. Shaila though is, will it become a chiyuv minatayra? That's the shaila. Will Sefiras Aymer change when Mashiach comes and become a mitzvah minatayra, even though you started with the Sefira midrabanan? So there's a strong svara to say that the number, the chshivas of the number is established by the mitzvah. The etzem mitzvah establishes the chshivas of the number. Without that, there's no significance to the number.
So why can you continue counting? Maybe with the Rabbanim it's mufka now with the Rabbanim.
Why does it become? What's?
If
it's a chiyuv deraisa, so that's even better. It's more. If it's so bleibt der Rabbanan. So it doesn't take what the Rabbanan doesn't change. The chiyuv the Rabbanan that you had change it stays.
The only halacha will be for chazik and bimoitzi.
There's not. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch brings 2 or 3 nafkeminas between the chiyuv Sefira minatayra and chiyuv Sefira midrabanan. The Alter Rebbe and the Siman Tov Pei Tes says that the chiyuv by both is the same, but there's certain cases of sveikis and hashmoshes, where there's certain cases of sveikis where the halacha is sveika deraisa l'chumen and sveika derabanan l'kula. So could be an nafkamina. There's a few nafkaminas between Sveika D'Rabbanan and Sveika D'Oraisa. If you want to have an nafkamina, nafkaminas. The Rebbe in the Sikha here brings also the other famous inyan that it says that the difference between a mitzvah d'Oraisa and mitzvah d'Rabbanan is that a mitzvah d'Oraisa affects the chefza. It affects the object that you do the mitzvah with. And in this case, what's the object of the mitzvah?
The person.
The zman, the day. That the etzem day, when you count, it's kiveya, gives a chshivas on the cheftza of the day, that this day is the 22nd day of the Yomer. Mashenke, when you count, midrabanon, it's only a chiyuv on the gavra. All chiyuvim midrabanon, according to one day, that brings a bavustavad from Rabbi Yosef Engel, that all chiyuvim midrabanon only, and isurim midrabanon as well, only relate to the gavra. That the person is mechuyev to do kach v'kach. But it doesn't affect the cheftza itself. It doesn't affect the zman itself. Even more, the Gemara actually says, famous Gemara in Menachos, where the Gemara says that a meimer, there's a machlokes there, I think, between a baya and a meimer. Whether b'zman hazeh, when you count Sefiras ha'omer, should you count it the days and the weeks, the yomi and the shvui, the same way the way it was counted b'zman shebeis hamikdash kayam. That's, I think, a baya's shitta. And a meimer says mitzvah lemimni yomi, but today b'zman hazeh we count only the days and not the weeks. Why? So a meimer says because it's a zeicher lemikdash. Yes, it's only a zeicher, so you don't have to count it exactly the same the way it was b'zman shebeis hamikdash kayam. Right? Okay, so there's many achrayim that say that this vart that Ameimus says is l'kula alma. Everybody agrees that the whole takonim in the Rabbanim b'zman hazeh, if there's no carbon. If there's no carbon ma'omer, so b'zman hazeh, what's the whole union of Sefiras ha'omer? It's a zeichel mikdash. What's the idea of zeichel mikdash? There's an inyan to make a zeichel to the way things were done b'zman shabeis hamikdash kayam. Which means, the achrayim say that you could say that b'zman hazeh, when you count, you're not really, the point is not the mitzvah of Sefira. The point is not mitzvah Sefiras ha'omer. The point is that it's a way to make a zeichel mikdash. There's a lot of things we do to make a zeichel mikdash, and this is one of the things. The whole teichen of the mitzvah is to make a zeichel mikdash. If that's the case, if you go to such a far extent, okay, this is already a shtickle chiddush to go to such a far extent, but if you go to such a far extent, it comes out that the mitzvah midrabanan and the mitzvah minatayra are very different. The mitzvah midrabanan is to make a zeichel mikdash. How do you make a zeichel mikdash? By doing something that's similar to the way it was done with Zman Shabbos Mikdash Kayam, so it reminds you of Zman HaMikdash. But it's not a mitzvah of Sefira really. Mashenkim is Zman Shabbos Mikdash Kayam, it's a mitzvah of Sefiras ha'omer. That's the mitzvah. It's two different, completely different in Yonim. Okay.
Zman is a chelza, and how is this zman affected?
The counting, the dibur, when a person speaks, when a person says, and you're mekayim the mitzvah, the dibur of the person is kiveya, establishes it. This is what it is. That's the koyach of the mitzvah. That is the koyach of the mitzvah to establish what the day is. When a person says the number, when you count Sefiras ha'omer, you're not stam saying words. It's establishing and saying that this is what this day is. Yeah, okay. But the ma'ase says that the maskana of the sikha is, the Rebbe says Yosem nira loymar. Yosem nira loymar, that la'asad love, if Moshiach comes in the middle of Sefiras ha'omer, it will be minat Torah. And the vart that the Rebbe says is that even though b'zman hazeh it's not minat Torah, Sefiras ha'omer, but the very fact that there's a tzivui, for Sefiras ha'omer, even though that tzivui is not you can't be mekayim the tzivui b'poyol, but the etzem fact that the Torah commanded the mitzvah of Sefiras ha'omer, that's machshav the Sefira. That itself gives chshivas to the Sefira when a person counts, even if for him individually, or today, b'zman hazeh, for everybody, there is no mitzvah of Sefiras ha'omer. Before the Torah gave the tzivui, the fact that today is 22 days to the Omer has no significance. The tzivui itself creates that significance. Not only the fact that the person is actually counting. Works the other way around. Because the Eibusha gave the tzivui, that creates the significance of the day, the chshivas of the number of the day. And then the mitzvah of the person is that he should count it and say, b'dibur, he should count the number of that day that the Torah gave it a chshivas. But the chshivas of the day starts from the tzivui HaTorah. That's the maskon over here in the Sikha.
So how do you count?
So how?
If it's minat Torah, till now it was midrabanan.
No. It's the poyel. It's midrabanan because we don't have the carbon ha'omer. But the number of the day gets the chshivas, the day gets the chshivas because there's a tzivui. The etzem fact that in the Torah there is a tzivui to count Sefiras ha'omer, whether that tzivui is applicable b'zman hazeh, whether it's not applicable b'zman hazeh, but the etzem fact that there's a tzivui, it's machshav of the day. The day stands out by the fact that today is 22 days to the Yomer. But pilot's not applicable to count today in Torah. But the etzem tzivui itself gives the day a chshivas.
You're counting on the Rabbanon, but the day becomes choshev.
Mitzad tzivui Torah. Mitzad
So
tzivui Torah.
it's mashma was vatam lachem ochas Shabbos. Sheva Shabbos. First of all, it's mashma that mitzvah that it has to be Sheva Shabbos.
No.
It has to be tmimus.
No,
It's mashma that's not on a daily basis. Not a vatam lachem kol yom.
But each yom is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma. Even though there's a din of tmimais, because the whole sugi of tmimais, there's a lot of pratim in the din of tmimais. But the fact is, each day is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma. We make a bracha b'fnei atzma on each day. Okay, that's the maskana of the sikha here. But then, and I overheard a sikha also with from Tav Shalom Betes, and the Rebbe was also saying b'pashtus that la'asad if Moshiach comes in the middle of Sefira, it's going to become an atayra. Okay, but there's one other big question that remains over here that the Rebbe points to in one of the ha'aras of the sikha. How could it become an atayra? Even after this, even if this is true that it could be a hemshech, you could connect the Sefira with the Rabbanon to the Sefira in atayra. It has the chshivas. But the problem is, it could only be minat Torah if you will makriv the carbon na'imer. If there's no carbon, then it's not minat Torah. If there's no carbon na'imer, how could it be a Sefiras ha'omer minat Torah? What's the pshat over here? The whole machlokes rishonim, whether Sefiras ha'omer b'zman hazeh is minat Torah or midrabanan. What's that machlokes tali in? The Rambam, b'pashtus, there's kamay fana, but there's a simple pshat. The Rambam that holds the Sefira b'zman hazeh is minat Torah holds that Sefiras ha'omer is not totally in the carbon ha'omer. The Torah gives the zman. The Torah tells you when you should start counting. And then a svartam lachem. It's just giving you the zman. But it's not the akrovas carbon that's geirim the chiyuv. It's just a zman. Shenkein, the other Rishonim, Rav Rishonim hold, no. The Torah is telling you it's the krovas carbon that's guiding the Sefira. That is the whole chiyuv mitzvah. So if you have the carbon, you have the mitzvah. If you don't have the carbon, you don't have the mitzvah. No, so according to those Rishonim, the bisman hazeh is midrabanan because you don't have the carbon ha'omer. How could that change if Moshiach comes in the middle of Sefiras ha'omer? But Poil, you don't have the carbon ha'omer. That's still missing. So how could that change? That's the shayla here. So the Rebbe in the Ha'ara here is Mitzayin brings that you see from Rishonim, the Rebbe is Mitzayin to the Sefira Machriya, which is a sefer from the Tosis Rid, one of the Rishonim, that says that the Sefiras ha'omer is connected not only to Karb Ma'omer, but it's also connected to the Shtei Alechem that you bring on Shavuos. If you look in the Lashon HaPosik, just like in the perhaps it's in this week's parasha. Just like when the Torah talks about Sefiras ha'omer, it says that you count from when you're makriv karb ma'omer. It also concludes Svartim lechemesh chamishim. Exact lashon there. So in the beginning of the Sefira it says. Svartim lechem imachras haShabbos miyoyme v'yachem es omer atnufa. So the schal of the Sefira is from Omer Atnufa. But in the next pasuk it says, till when do you count? Ad mimachras haShabbos haShvius tisvur chamishim yoim v'yikrafta mincha chadash al Hashem. Which means that the Sefiras ha'omer is connected to mincha chadash al Hashem just as much as it's connected to Omer Atnufa. In the Lashon HaPasuk it starts with Omer Atnufa and it concludes with mincha chadash al Hashem. So therefore, you see, so over here it comes out, you have to say a bigger chiddush. It's not only that it's also connected to Mincha Chadash al Hashem, but that the chiyuv of Sefiras ha'omer could be either mitzad this or mitzad this. One or the other. If you have the carbon ha'omer, that's guiding the counting from ha'omer, and if you don't have the ha'omer, so then the fact that you're counting to Shavuos when you're going to be makriv the Shtei Alechem, that could also be guiding the mitzvah of Sefiras ha'omer. It's a tremendous chiddush. It's a very big chiddush. But one second. The Rebbe is mitzayin to other Rishonim. I mean, there's if you look in the Psukim, it doesn't say anywhere that Sefiras HaOmer has any connection to Shavuos. To Matan Torah, that is. To Matan Torah. But there's the famous Ran that brings in the end of Psachim, the Agode, the Medrash, that says that the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer is because when Yidden left Mitzrayim, they had a shtoikikus to be Mekabel the Torah, and therefore they were counting and it's connected to Matan Torah. It's a Medrash. But if you look in the Pasuk, it doesn't say anywhere by Pashtus that Sefiras HaOmer is connected to Matan Torah. It's connected to Korban Omer, and it's connected also to Shtei Alecha maybe, but it doesn't say anywhere that it's connected to Matan Torah. But there's a tshuva from the Radvaz that the Rebbe is mitzayin to here in the Sikha, where the Radvaz discusses the question that the Rishonim all ask: why do we not make a bracha of Shechayanu and Sefiras HaOmer? Why don't we make a bracha on Sefiras Shechayanu just like any mitzvah, which is Bom Izman Lizman? So there's various answers given to this. One of the answers that the Radvaz says is because the conclusion of the mitzvah is only when you finish the last day. So therefore you can't make Shechayanu in the beginning. And when you make in the end, you already counted every day, so you can't make any more Shechayanu. It's one of the answers that he says. But the answer that he says, Nirali, his answer that he gives is because he says that when you have one mitzvah, which is a hachana for another mitzvah, you don't make Shechayanu. For example, when you build a sukkah, the building the sukkah itself is a mitzvah. But because it's a hachana for the mitzvah of Basukah's Teishvu, you don't make the bracha on building the sukkah, you make the bracha when you sit in the sukkah. Same thing also by B'dikas Chametz. You don't make the bracha Shechayana on the B'dikas Chametz, you make the bracha Shechayana Leila Seder, and that goes on the B'dika as well. So he says the same thing by Sefira. Yes, the whole Sefira is a hachana for Shavuos, so you make the bracha Shechayana by Shavuos, and you don't make it on the hachana for Shavuos, which is Sefiras HaOmer. So the Rebbe says, you see from him already that Sefiras HaOmer is not only a hemshech to the Omer, but it's a hachana to Shavuos and a hachana to the Shtei Alechem. So if you makriv the Shtei Alechem, then it could be Minat Torah. Okay, but it's a big chiddush, this thing, that it's connected to the Shtei Alechem. I mean, you look by Pashtus in the Paiskim, you look by Pashtus in Halacha. Sefiras HaOmer is connected to the Korban Omer. It's the name of the mitzvah. The name of the mitzvah is Sefiras HaOmer. The nusach that you count is La'omer. The nusach of the bracha that you say is Sefiras HaOmer. The whole name of the mitzvah is Sefiras HaOmer. You don't see in the nusach ha-bracha and the nusach ha-sefira that it's connected to Shtei Alechem. So the emphasis that this shaila, when you get to the nusach ha-bracha and the nusach ha-sefira, is a shaila on the shittas ha-Rambam. The Rambam says that Sefiras HaOmer today is Minat Torah. If the Rambam holds it's Minat Torah, that means that it's not connected to the Omer. The Omer is only the Zman. It's only the Zman ha-mitzvah. And still the nusach ha-sefira is al Sefiras HaOmer. Even though it's not connected to the Omer, it's just the Zman ha-Omer, it's just the Zman ha-mitzvah. So, if according to the Rambam, you say al Sefiras HaOmer, Hagam, the Omer is not geirim the mitzvah, it's only the Zman ha-mitzvah, so then, even if it's connected to the Shtei Alechem, you could still say that we say the Nusach HaBracha Sefiras HaOmer because that's the Zman ha-mitzvah.